The great station floated in the darkness of space, lit by the glow of 1,000 ships. Nexus Prime was the heart of the Galactic Council, where hundreds of alien species gathered to discuss matters of trade, peace, and war. Today, the massive chamber was filled with delegates from across the galaxy. The air hummed with worried voices. G1 stood near her designated seat, adjusting the translation device in her ear. She had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now, ever since humanity joined the Council. She was a small woman by human standards, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around her, beings of every shape and size filled the tiered seating. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of pure energy. But today, all their attention was focused on the center of the chamber. The Velcro's delegation stood in the speaking circle. They were massive reptilian creatures, each one standing over 8 feet tall. Their scales were dark red and black, and their yellow eyes gleamed with barely contained aggression. Their leader, High Commander Korthus, raised his clawed hand for silence. "The Velcro's empire has been patient," Korthus announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "For 2 years, Earth has refused to pay the trade penalties we demanded. They have shown disrespect to our merchants and ignored our warnings. This cannot stand." G1 kept her face calm, though her heart was beating faster. She had expected this, but hearing it declared so publicly was different. The trade dispute Korthus mentioned was a fabrication. A Velcro's merchant had tried to sell defective power cores to Earth colonies, and when humanity refused to pay, the Empire claimed insult. Therefore Korthus continued, his fangs showing in what might have been a smile. "The Velcro's empire formally declares its intention to bring Earth into compliance. We will take control of their home system within 1 lunar cycle. This is our right under ancient law." The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some protested, others seemed excited, and many simply looked worried. Kiwan noticed that none of them looked surprised. They had all known this was coming. The Velcros had been looking for an excuse to expand their territory, and Earth was the perfect target. Humanity was new to the galactic stage. With no powerful allies and a reputation for being peaceful scientists and explorers, the council speaker, an ancient being that looked like a floating jellyfish of purple light, called for order. "Ambassador Giwan, you may respond." Giwan walked to the speaking circle, her steps measured and calm. She was aware that every eye in the chamber was watching her. Most of them probably expected her to beg for help or to panic. Instead, she looked directly at Korthus. "The Velcro's empire knows there is no legitimate trade dispute," she said clearly. "They manufactured this conflict. However, Earth respects the Council's procedures. We request the standard 30-day negotiation period before any military action begins." Korthus laughed, a deep rumbling sound. 30 days to prepare your surrender. Very well, human. We grant this. It will make no difference." The other Velcro's delegates laughed with him. Around the chamber, Giwan could see pity on the faces of many delegates. A few looked uncomfortable, but none spoke up to defend Earth. The Velcro's empire was old and powerful. No one wanted to anger them over one small human world. The council speaker declared the session closed. As the delegates began to file out, several approached Juan. First came this seer, a being made of living crystal, who represented a peaceful trading civilization. Light refracted through their body as they moved, creating rainbow patterns. "Ambassador Jiwan, I am sorry," the seer said softly. "The Velcro's fleet has never been defeated. Perhaps if Earth agrees to their terms now, they will be merciful." "Thank you for your concern," Juwan replied. "But Earth will handle this matter." Next came Brutok, an insectoid creature with multiple eyes. "My people once resisted the Velcros. It did not go well. Save your people. Surrender before the fighting starts." More delegates came with similar messages. All of them assumed Earth would lose. All of them seemed genuinely concerned for humanity's survival. Giwan thanked each one politely, but gave no indication of what Earth planned to do. Finally, Counselor Vren approached. He was a tall being covered in blue scales, the Council's chief military analyst. I need to speak with you privately, he said. They moved to a small side chamber. Vryn activated a privacy field, and his expression became more serious. Ambassador, I have reviewed Earth's military capabilities. You have 12 orbital defense platforms, 43 combat vessels, and planetary shields that might last 3 days under sustained bombardment. The Velcros are bringing 300 warships. I am aware of the odds, Guan said. Then you must convince your government to surrender, Ren insisted. The Velcros will kill billions if you resist. At least if you yield now, your people will survive under occupation. Please, be reasonable. Anne looked at him for a long moment. Vren seemed genuinely worried, which was kind of him. I will convey your concerns to my government, she said finally, after Vren left. Guan returned to her quarters on the station. She sealed the door and activated her secure communication system. The face of Admiral Hyunwoo appeared on the screen. He was an older man, with gray hair and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. A declared war as we expected, Juan said. We have 30 days. More than enough time, Hyunwoo replied. How did the council react? Exactly as predicted. They think we are helpless. Not one species offered support. They all believe Earth will fall quickly. Good. The longer they believe that, the better. Hyunwoo paused. Are you certain you want to stay there? Once the fighting starts, you might be in danger. My place is here, Giwon said firmly. When the Velcro's fleet moves, the council needs to see what happens. They need to understand what humanity really is. Then be ready. In 30 days, the galaxy is going to learn something new about Earth. Guan closed the communication link and sat in the quiet of her quarters. Through the window, she could see the vast expanse of space and the distant light of stars. Somewhere out there, the Velcros were preparing their fleet. They thought they were about to conquer an easy target. They thought humanity was weak because humans smiled and preferred peace. They were about to learn that humanity had not survived 10,000 years of warfare. Against itself by being weak, Earth had joined the Council, hoping to find peace among the stars. But humanity had learned long ago that sometimes peace could only be maintained by those ready and able to fight for it. The 30-day countdown had begun. Admiral Hunhua stood in the command center deep beneath the surface of Earth. The room was filled with holographic displays showing every corner of the solar system. Officers moved efficiently between stations, their faces focused and calm. They had been preparing for this day since humanity first made contact with alien life 15 years ago. Status report, Hyunwoo said. Commander Timan, a young officer with quick eyes, pulled up a tactical display. All hidden fleet elements are in position. The asteroid belt installations are at full readiness. Saturn base reports all strike groups prepared for launch. Mars facility has completed the final weapons checks. Hyunwoo nodded. To the Galactic Council, Earth appeared to have a modest defensive force. 12 orbital platforms, 43 visible warships, and basic planetary shields. It was enough to look like humanity took defense seriously, but not enough to seem threatening to the older civilizations. That had been the plan from the beginning. The truth was very different. Scattered throughout the solar system were 812 warships of various classes. Some were hidden in the asteroid belt, camouflaged to look like ordinary rocks. Others floated in the darkness beyond Pluto, their power systems running cold to avoid detection. Dozens more were concealed in orbital positions around Jupiter and Saturn, using the massive planet's radiation signatures to mask their presence. Sir, Dr. Mingi is here for the briefing, Taman announced. The door opened and Dr. Mingi entered. She was a small woman with tired eyes and a brilliant mind. For the past decade, she had led Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, the program responsible for developing military technology that the Council believed was purely theoretical research. Admiral, she greeted him with a slight bow. I have the final report on our weapons systems. She activated a holographic display. The railguns are operating at 108% of expected efficiency. The new plasma cannons exceed design specifications by 12%. Our missile systems have been upgraded with the latest AI targeting systems, and the experimental gravitational disruptor is ready for combat testing. What about the fighters? Hunwoo asked. Captain Dayan's carrier group has 200 strike fighters fully armed and ready. Each pilot has completed advanced combat training. They are the best we have. Hyunwoo allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy fought space battles the way Earth's ancient navies had fought on the seas, with large ships forming lines and exchanging broadsides until one side retreated or was destroyed. It was predictable and formal. Humanity had studied these tactics carefully over the past 15 years and had developed counters for every standard engagement pattern. What the Velcros do not know, Minji continued, is that we have been studying warfare for our entire history. We have fought wars with swords, with guns, with tanks and aircraft, and with nuclear weapons. We nearly destroyed ourselves learning how to fight. Every human conflict, every battle, every strategic innovation has been recorded and analyzed. We have brought all of that knowledge to space combat. Show them the simulation, Hyunwoo ordered. Minji pulled up a tactical simulation. It showed a standard Velcro's battle formation encountering Earth's actual fleet. The simulation ran for 18 minutes. By the end, the Velcro's fleet was decimated. This assumes they fight using standard council tactics, Minji explained. If they deviate significantly, we will adapt. But based on every recorded Velcro's engagement over the past 3 centuries, they are very predictable. They rely on superior numbers and firepower, not strategy. Commander Tiemann spoke up. Admiral, we have incoming communication from Captain Dayan. The holographic display shifted to show Captain Dayan's face. He was on the bridge of the stealth carrier Retribution. Currently hidden in the shadow of the moon, Dayan was a veteran pilot who had personally trained every fighter pilot in his wing. Admiral, I wanted to confirm our engagement protocols, Dayan said. Once the Velcros commit to their attack on Earth, we are cleared to decloak and begin operations. Confirmed, Hyunwoo replied. But remember, we let them think they are winning initially. Let them destroy some of the visible defense platforms. Let them think we are fighting desperately with our small fleet. Only when they are fully committed do we reveal our true strength. Understood, sir. My pilots are ready. We will not fail. After the communication ended, Hyunwoo walked to the large window overlooking the command center. Below him, hundreds of officers and technicians worked to coordinate Earth's defense. They were calm and professional because they knew the truth. Earth was not helpless. Humanity had prepared for this. Sir, we have a communication from Ambassador Jiwon Temin announced. Jiwon's face appeared on the screen. She was still at the council station, maintaining Earth's diplomatic presence. Admiral, the council's military analysts are predicting Earth will fall within 72 hours once the attack begins. Some species are taking bets on how long we will last. Let them bet, Hyunwoo said. What is your assessment of council intentions? They will not intervene, Giwon replied. Most species are afraid of the Velcros. Others simply do not care what happens to humanity. We are on our own. We always expected that. Stay safe, Ambassador, and be ready to explain a lot of things to the Council very soon. Hyun would turn to address the entire command center. Attention, all personnel. In a few weeks, the Velcros will arrive expecting an easy victory. They believe we are a young species that prefers peace because we are weak. They think our small, visible fleet means we cannot fight. They are about to learn a hard lesson. He paused, looking at the faces watching him. Humanity has always been at its most dangerous when someone mistakes our desire for peace as inability to wage war. We joined the Galactic Council, hoping to find a better way. We built our science stations and exploration ships because we wanted to learn and grow. But we also remembered every lesson from our bloody history. We prepared for this day. The Velcros have never lost a battle. Their empire has conquered dozens of worlds, but they have never fought humanity. They have never faced an enemy that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of warfare. When they enter our solar system, they will be facing the combined military knowledge of every human conflict, every tactical innovation, every strategic breakthrough humanity ever achieved. Tiemann pulled up the deployment map. 800 ships appeared on the display, positioned throughout the solar system in a carefully designed trap. We have the advantage of position, preparation, and superior tactics. The Velcros have numbers and arrogance, Dr. Minji added. Our weapons technology is a generation ahead of Council standards. Our ships are faster and more maneuverable. Our pilots are better trained. And most importantly, we understand something the Velcros do not. War is not about being the biggest or having the most ships. War is about strategy, adaptation, and the will to do what is necessary. Hyunwoo looked at the countdown timer on the main display. 28 days remained until the Velcro's fleet would arrive. Final preparations begin now. Check every system twice. Run every simulation again. When the Velcros arrive, we will be ready. And when this is over, the galaxy will understand that humanity seeks peace, but we are thoroughly prepared for war. The command center erupted in determined activity. Officers returned to their stations with renewed focus. Throughout the solar system, hidden ships powered up their systems and prepared for battle. Fighter pilots ran final checks on their craft. Marines prepared boarding equipment. Engineers made last-minute adjustments to weapon systems. Earth appeared calm on the surface. Cities continued their daily routines. People went to work and school. But beneath the surface, and scattered throughout the solar system, humanity's true strength was ready and waiting. The Velcros were about to discover that the peaceful humans who joined the Council 15 years ago were far more dangerous than anyone suspected. The Velcro's fleet emerged from faster than light, travel at the edge of Earth's solar system with tremendous display. 300 warships materialized in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming in the distant light of the sun. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. High Admiral Cortez stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds, and felt satisfaction deep in his chest. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Show me what the humans have prepared." The tactical officer, a younger Velcros named Kren, worked the scanning systems. "Sir, I am detecting the expected defenses. 12 orbital platforms around Earth. Approximately 40 vessels in defensive positions near the planet. Planetary shields are active." Corthus bared his fangs in what passed for a smile among his species. "Exactly as our intelligence reported. These humans are fools. They had 30 days to prepare, and this is all they managed." He activated the communication system that would broadcast to Earth and to the Galactic Council monitoring station. "Humans of Earth, this is High Admiral Corthus of the Velcros Empire. You have one final chance to surrender. Deactivate your shields, power down your weapons, and prepare to accept occupation. If you resist, we will destroy your orbital defenses and bombard your planet until you submit. You have 10 minutes to respond." On Earth, in the underground command center, Admiral Hyunwoo watched the Velcro's fleet on his displays. Right on time. "Commander Timon, order all hidden units to maintain silent running. Captain Dayan, keep your fighters concealed. Let them think what they see is everything we have." "Yes, sir," came the responses. 10 minutes passed with no response from Earth. Corthus had expected this. The humans were probably arguing among themselves, some wanting to fight and others wanting to surrender. It did not matter. The outcome was inevitable. All ships advanced to Earth orbit. Destroy the defense platforms first, then eliminate their fleet. Target military installations on the surface once the shields fail. The Velcro's fleet moved forward, a wall of destructive power that had crushed resistance on countless worlds. As they reached the inner system, Earth's orbital platforms opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles struck the Velcro shields, which absorbed the impacts with ease. "Their weapons are weak," Kren reported. "Shields holding at 98% on all ships. Turn fire. Destroy those platforms." Velcros unleashed devastating volleys. The first orbital platform exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second. Then the third. Within an hour, only 9 platforms remained, and they were taking heavy damage. The human fleet of 43 ships emerged from behind the moon. Moving into defensive positions around Earth, Corthus studied them with interest. The ships were smaller than Velcro's warships, but appeared well-designed. They spread out in a standard defensive screen, positioning themselves between the Velcro's fleet and the planet. Interesting, Korthus mused. They know they cannot win, but they fight anyway. There is some honor in that. Destroy them quickly. But as the Velcros moved to engage, something unexpected happened. The human ships did not form a defensive line as anticipated. Instead, they broke into small groups, moving with remarkable speed and coordination. They darted between the Velcro ships, targeting specific points with precise fire. "Sir, they are targeting our shield generators," Kren reported with alarm. "3 ships have lost primary shields. How is this possible? Their weapons should not be strong enough. They're using concentrated fire tactics, sir. Multiple ships focusing on single points. It is very effective," Korthus growled in frustration. "Adjust formation. Box them in. Use our numbers to overwhelm them." But the human ships were faster than expected. They used the three-dimensional nature of space combat in ways the Velcros had never encountered. They attacked from above and below, from unexpected angles, never staying in one position long enough to become easy targets. One human ship, moving faster than the others, raced along the length of a Velcro's cruiser. Firing continuously at the same section of shields, the shields collapsed, and the final shots tore into the hull, crippling the cruiser's engines. The human ship was gone before the Velcros could return fire. "Damage report," Korthus demanded. "We have lost 2 ships destroyed, 8 heavily damaged, 7 with shield failures. The humans have lost 6 vessels." Korthus stared at the tactical display in disbelief. They should have crushed these humans easily. Instead, they were trading losses almost evenly. The human ships were smaller and fewer in number, but they fought with a skill that was shocking. "All ships, full assault on Earth, ignore the human fleet. Once we breach the planetary shields, they will have to surrender." The Velcro's fleet pushed forward, absorbing fire from the human vessels, but focusing on reaching Earth. The planetary shields were strong, but 300 ships firing continuously would eventually break through. "Then, Captain," Dayan's voice echoed across the tactical channel to all human forces, "all units Velcros have committed to planetary assault. Retribution is executing Ducloak. Strike wings, launch for attack." Directly behind the Velcro's formation, space itself seemed to ripple and tear. The stealth carrier Retribution appeared, massive and bristling with launch bays. Immediately, fighters began pouring from its hangars. Not 10 or 20, but 200 strike fighters, each piloted by veterans trained in tactics the galaxy had never seen. "Sir, we have a contact behind us," Kren shouted. "No, multiple contacts. It is a carrier and hundreds of small craft." Korthus spun to stare at the tactical display. This was impossible. The humans had hidden an entire carrier group. Where had it been? How had their scanners missed it? The human fighters did not engage in traditional attack runs. Instead, they swarmed around the Velcro ships like angry insects, working in coordinated teams. 4 fighters would attack a single ship, 2 drawing defensive fire, while the other 2 targeted critical systems. They aimed for engine clusters, weapon arrays, communications equipment, anything that would disable rather than destroy. "They are targeting our systems," Kren reported frantically. "Sir, this is not standard Council warfare. They are using tactics we have never encountered." More Velcro ships began reporting damage. Not destroyed, but crippled, unable to fight effectively. The human fighters moved with precision that suggested extensive training and clear communication. Each team knew exactly what to do. "Launch our fighters," Korthus ordered. "Drive them off." Velcro's fighters launched to engage, but they quickly found themselves outmatched. The human pilots flew their craft like extensions of their own bodies. They used speed and agility rather than armor and firepower. In one-on-one combat, they consistently outmaneuvered the Velcro's pilots. Throughout the solar system, more human ships began powering up. The asteroid belt suddenly came alive with dozens of contacts. Ships that had been disguised as rocks activated their engines and moved to join the battle. More vessels appeared from beyond Saturn, having made the long voyage from the outer system. Others emerged from positions around Jupiter, Mars, and from deep orbital hiding spots around Earth itself. "Sir, we are detecting multiple new contacts." Kren's voice was shaking now. "Dozens of them, no hundreds." They were hidden throughout the system. Korthus watched in growing horror as the tactical display filled with red icons representing enemy ships. The humans had not just hidden a carrier, they had concealed an entire fleet. 800 warships were converging on his position, emerging from hiding spots throughout the solar system. "It was a trap," he whispered. "The entire system is a trap." Admiral Heinwall watched from Earth as the plan unfolded perfectly. The Velcros had committed their full force to the assault on Earth, exactly as predicted. Now, they were surrounded, caught between the planetary defenses. The visible fleet, Daon's fighters, and the hundreds of hidden ships moving into position. "All units, execute encirclement pattern," Beta Hunhua ordered. "Shut down their escape routes. No one leaves this system until we permit it." The Velcro's fleet, which had entered Earth's solar system expecting easy conquest, now found itself fighting for survival against an enemy far more powerful than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Council chamber was silent except for the quiet hum of holographic displays. Every delegate watched the automated monitoring feeds from Earth's solar system with expressions ranging from shock to disbelief. What had begun as an expected short battle had transformed into something none of them had anticipated. Giwan sat in her designated seat, her face calm despite the chaos unfolding on the screens before her. She had known this moment would come, had prepared for it, but seeing the reality was still intense. Around her, delegates were shouting in dozens of languages, pointing at displays, demanding explanations. "This is impossible," Counselor Vren said, his blue scales rippling with agitation. He stood before the main tactical display, watching human ships emerge from hiding spots throughout the solar system. "We scanned their system. We assessed their capabilities. How did they hide this many ships?" The Siri, the crystalline being, turned their multifaceted form toward Ji-Wan. "Ambassador, you knew. You knew all along that Earth possessed this fleet." "Yes," Guan replied simply. "You deceived the Council, Brutok." The insectoid delegate clicked his mandibles angrily. "You presented false information about your military strength. This is a serious violation of Council protocols." "We presented accurate information about our visible defenses," Giwan corrected. "No one asked us about our full military capability. The Council made assumptions based on what they could easily detect." On the main screen, the battle continued to unfold. The Velcro's fleet was now completely surrounded by human forces. Their ships were being systematically disabled by precise strikes that targeted engines, weapons, and shield generators. The human fighters moved through the battlefield like a swarm, their coordination and skill far exceeding anything Council militaries had demonstrated. "Look at their tactics," Vren said, his voice filled with a mixture of horror and fascination. "They are not fighting the way we fight. This is something entirely different." The Council speaker, the floating jellyfish-like being of purple light, pulsed with confusion. Explanation requested. How do humans possess such advanced tactical knowledge? Giwan stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed her. She activated her personal display and pulled up historical data from Earth. "Members of the Council, I would like to introduce you to human history. For the past 10,000 years, humanity has been at war. Not with aliens, but with itself." Images appeared showing ancient human battles. Armies with swords and shields, cavalry charges, siege warfare, then more modern conflicts with guns, tanks, aircraft, and nuclear weapons. The delegates watched with growing understanding and fear. "We have fought thousands of wars," Quan continued. "We developed strategy and counter-strategy. We created tactics for every possible scenario. Every human conflict was studied, analyzed, and learned from. By the time we achieved space travel, we had already spent millennia perfecting the art of warfare. But you presented yourselves as peaceful explorers, a delegate protested. We are peaceful, Giwan said firmly. We joined the council seeking peace. We hope to find a better way among the stars. But we are not naive. We studied galactic military doctrine and found it predictable. Your species achieved space travel without experiencing the kind of intensive warfare that marked human development. Your battles are ritualized, formal. We brought 10,000 years of hard-earned tactical knowledge to space combat. On the screen, a human destroyer executed a maneuver that seemed to defy physics, using gravitational forces to slingshot around a disabled Velcro ship and fire a devastating volley into another enemy vessel's unshielded rear section. The Velcro ship went dark, its power systems destroyed. A fight like nothing we have ever seen, Bren whispered. A communication request came through from Earth. Giwan accepted it. And Dr. Sora appeared on the screens throughout the chamber. She was a human military historian, specializing in the evolution of warfare. Her appearance was professional, but her eyes carried the weight of difficult knowledge. Members of the council, I am Dr. Sora, military historian. You are witnessing the application of human military doctrine to space warfare. Let me explain what you are seeing. She pulled up tactical analysis. The Velcros are fighting using standard council tactics. Large ships in formation, exchanging broadside fire, attempting to overwhelm through superior numbers and firepower. This is how galactic warfare has been conducted for thousands of years. Humans fight differently. We use rapid maneuver warfare. We concentrate force at weak points. We target critical systems rather than attempting to destroy entire ships. We use three-dimensional space in ways that your militaries have not considered. Each tactic you see was developed and refined through actual combat on Earth. Another display showed human fighters working in coordinated teams. These pilots have trained for years in tactics developed from centuries of atmospheric combat. Every maneuver they execute has been tested in actual warfare on Earth. They know how to work together, how to support each other, how to maximize their effectiveness. A Velcro's cruiser attempted to retreat, but found its path blocked by 3 human destroyers that had positioned themselves perfectly to cut off escape. The cruiser took fire from multiple angles and went dark, its crew trapped but alive. You will notice that humans are disabling ships rather than destroying them, Dr. Sora continued. This is deliberate. We are demonstrating that we can destroy the Velcro's fleet, but we are choosing mercy instead. This is also part of human military doctrine. The goal is not to kill, but to win. The seer turned to Giwan. How long have you been planning this? Since first contact, Giwan admitted. When we learned about the Galactic Council and studied the political dynamics, we understood that appearing weak could invite aggression. We decided to maintain a visible defensive force while secretly preparing a much larger fleet. We hoped we would never need to reveal it. You used the Velcros, Brutok said, understanding dawning. You knew someone would eventually attack you. You prepared this trap and waited for someone to fall into it. Not a trap, Giwan corrected. A deterrent. If we had revealed our full strength immediately, it would have frightened the council and potentially started an arms race. By appearing weak, we avoided that. But we were ready to defend ourselves if necessary. On the screens, the battle was reaching its conclusion. The Velcro's fleet had lost over half its ships. The remainder were surrounded, damaged, and unable to effectively fight back. High Admiral Korthus broadcast a desperate message requesting terms of surrender. Admiral Hunu appeared on the council screens. This is Admiral Hunawa of Earth Defense Command. Velcro's fleet, you will power down all weapon systems immediately. You will drop your shields and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that attempts to flee or fight will be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to comply. The Velcro ships, one by one, went dark. Their proud fleet, which had never known defeat, was forced to surrender. The battle had lasted 18 hours. And of the 300 ships that had entered Earth's solar system, only 37 remained combat-capable. The rest were disabled, destroyed, or captured. The council chamber remained silent as the full implications became clear. Earth was not a weak species to be threatened. They were a military power that had deliberately hidden their strength. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. What happens now? The council speaker asked. Giwan looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from hundreds of worlds. Now, the council must decide how to respond. Earth seeks peace, but we will no longer be viewed as easy targets. We defended ourselves using only the force necessary. We could have destroyed the entire Velcro's fleet, but we chose to disable their ships and preserve life where possible. The Velcros violated council protocols by attacking a member species without proper cause. They expected an easy victory and found none. Earth requests that the council mediate a peace settlement. We have no desire for continued conflict, but we will defend ourselves if threatened again. Vren stared at the tactical displays showing the aftermath of the battle. Disabled Velcro ships being secured by human boarding parties. Human medical ships moving to provide aid to survivors. The victorious human fleet maintaining perfect formation and discipline. The galaxy needs to understand something, Vren said slowly. Earth is now one of the most powerful military forces in council space. They hid this from us successfully for 15 years. What else might they be capable of? Giwan allowed herself a small smile. Members of the council, humanity seeks peace. We always have. But we learned long ago that peace must be defended by those capable of war. Today, the galaxy learned that lesson. We hope it is a lesson that never needs to be repeated. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council convened again in emergency session. The atmosphere in the Great Chamber was completely different from the last meeting, where before there had been pity and dismissal toward Earth. Now there was careful respect, mixed with fear and uncertainty. High Admiral Korthus stood in the speaking circle, but this time he was not proud and threatening. His scales seemed duller, his posture defeated. Behind him stood 2 human marines in full armor, not as guards, but as escorts. The Velcro's empire had requested council mediation, and humanity had agreed. The Velcro's empire acknowledges complete defeat, Korthus said, his voice lacking its former arrogance. We entered Earth's solar system expecting an easy conquest. We found instead an enemy far more capable than we imagined. We request council mediation to establish terms of peace. The council speaker pulsed with purple light. Ambassador Giwan Earth may present its terms. Giwan stood and walked to the speaking circle. She had spent the past 3 days in constant communication with Earth's government, preparing for this moment. Earth's terms are simple. First, the Velcro's empire will acknowledge that the trade dispute was manufactured and without merit. Second, the empire will pay reparations for the unprovoked attack on Earth. Third, all Velcro's military forces will withdraw from the border regions near human space.
How?
She paused, looking directly at Korthus. Fourth, the Velcro's empire will enter into a non-aggression treaty with Earth, guaranteed by the Council. And fifth, the Empire will release all species currently under occupation who wish independence. Gasps echoed through the chamber. That final term went far beyond simple peace between Earth and the Velcros. It would fundamentally reshape galactic politics. You cannot demand this, Korthus protested. Those worlds were conquered legally under ancient precedent. Ancient precedent, Giwan replied calmly. That says any species with sufficient military power can conquer weaker species. Earth is demonstrating that we have sufficient power to make demands. Will the Velcros agree, or shall we continue this conflict? Councillor Vren spoke up. Ambassador Giwan, your 5th term affects not just the Velcros, but the entire council structure. Many of our member species maintain territories conquered through military force. Are you suggesting this is no longer acceptable? I am suggesting that Earth will not accept a galaxy where conquest is considered legitimate. We joined the Council believing it promoted peace and cooperation. Instead, we found a system where strong species dominate weaker ones through threat of force. This must change. The seer's crystalline form shimmered with approval. The human speaks truth. For too long, we have accepted that military might grants the right to conquer. Perhaps it is time for a new philosophy. Easy for you to say, Brutot clicked. Your species has never been strong enough to conquer. Some of us have built our civilizations on expansion. And now, Giwan said, you face a species that is strong enough to stop you. Earth demonstrated that we can defeat the most powerful military force in the galaxy. We did so while minimizing casualties and preserving enemy lives where possible. We could have destroyed every Velcro ship, but we chose mercy. We are offering the same choice to the Council. Change peacefully or face resistance. Admiral Hyanwu's image appeared on the screens. Members of the Council, I am sending you complete tactical data from the battle. Study it carefully. You will see that Earth's fleet is designed for defense and precision, not conquest. Our weapons, our tactics, our entire military doctrine is built around stopping aggression, not committing it. Captain Dayon appeared alongside Hyanwu. Every pilot in my wings has trained for 5 years minimum in combat tactics. We can execute maneuvers that most galactic militaries have never considered. Our fighter doctrine alone represents thousands of years of tactical development. This is what you face if you choose aggression against Earth or our allies. Allies. Several delegates asked simultaneously. G1 nodded. Earth is prepared to offer defensive pacts to any Council species that wishes protection from aggressive neighbors. We will share some defensive technologies. We will train your militaries in modern tactics. In exchange, we ask for cooperation in reforming Council protocols to eliminate conquest as an acceptable practice. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species were excited by the offer of Earth's protection and technology. Others were alarmed by the threat to existing power structures. The conversation continued for hours, with delegates arguing, proposing amendments, and forming temporary alliances. Finally, the Council speaker called for order. Proposal is made. The Council will establish new protocols prohibiting military conquest of member species or unaligned civilizations. Earth will serve on a new security committee with authority to respond to aggressive actions. Species currently under occupation will be given choice of independence or continued association with occupying power. All members will vote. The vote took place over the next day, with Earth waiting patiently. In the end, the measure passed by a narrow margin. Too many smaller species wanted protection from larger neighbors. Too many delegates had watched the Battle of Earth and understood that humanity could enforce its will if necessary. The age of easy conquest was ending. Korthus signed the peace treaty 3 days later. The Velcro's empire would release 12 occupied worlds, pay substantial reparations, and withdraw their forces from human space. In exchange, Earth agreed not to press for additional penalties and offered to share some defensive shield technology to help the Velcros protect their remaining territory. Why help us? Korthus asked Yuan during the signing ceremony. We attacked you. We would have destroyed your world if we could, because Earth wants peace, not revenge, Juan replied. You lost because you underestimated us. You thought peaceful meant weak. Now you know better. We hope that knowledge prevents future conflicts. Weeks later, Giwan received a visit from Visir in her quarters on Nexus Prime. The crystalline being seemed thoughtful, their light patterns subdued. I have a question, if you do not mind, Visir said. Why did Earth join the Council if you knew it was dominated by species who used force to get their way? Juan considered the question carefully. We joined hoping to find something better than what we had on Earth. Humanity nearly destroyed itself in our wars. We wanted to believe that a galactic civilization would have moved beyond such things. When we discovered that was not true, we had a choice. Leave and remain isolated, or stay and try to change things from within. You chose to change things. Yes, but we also prepared for the possibility that change would require strength. We built our hidden fleet as insurance. We hoped we would never need it, but we were ready when the time came. This year's form shifted colors, indicating deep thought. Your species is strange. You seek peace, but are exceptionally good at war. You hide your strength, but use it decisively when needed. You defeat your enemies, but then offer them assistance. This is not how galactic politics usually works. Maybe that is why it needs to change, Juan suggested. 3 months after the battle, Dr. Mingy arrived at Nexus Prime with a team of scientists. She met with representatives from 40 different species who wanted to learn about human defensive technology. The sessions were carefully controlled, the Earth-sharing shield improvements and sensor technology, but keeping offensive weapons classified. Captain Dayon established a training program for alien pilots. Species that had spent centuries flying in predictable formations learned about three-dimensional combat, team coordination, and adaptive tactics. The first graduates returned to their homeworlds as revolutionaries, bringing new ideas about warfare that had not been seen in galactic militaries for generations. Admiral Yanwu retired from active service but became Earth's primary military advisor to the Council. He worked with Vren to completely restructure Council defense protocols. The new system emphasized collective security and rapid response to aggression, rather than relying on the threat of conquest to maintain order. 5 years after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was different. Several aggressive species had been deterred from planned conquests by Earth's Security Committee. Smaller species felt safer and more confident. Technology sharing had raised the defensive capabilities of dozens of civilizations. And most importantly, conquest was no longer seen as an acceptable way to expand territory. Juan, now Earth's permanent representative to the Council, stood before the Assembly to give a speech on the anniversary of the battle. 5 years ago, the Velcros attacked Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they discovered that humanity was far more capable than they imagined. But the real lesson of that battle was not about military strength. She looked around the chamber at delegates from hundreds of worlds. The lesson was that peace requires strength. For too long, this council accepted that the strong could dominate the weak. Earth demonstrated that this does not have to be true. A species committed to peace can also be capable of defending itself and others. Mercy and strength are not opposites, they are partners. Today, the galaxy is more peaceful than it has been in centuries. Not because we eliminated conflict, but because potential aggressors know they will face consequences. Smaller species no longer live in fear. The age of easy conquest is over. This is Earth's gift to the Council, not weapons or technology, but the understanding that peace can be defended by those with the wisdom to be strong without being cruel. Their seer approached her after the speech. "You changed the galaxy, Ambassador. 5 years ago, most species saw humans as naive peacekeepers. Now you are respected and, yes, feared. How does that feel?" Juan smiled slightly. "Strange. We never wanted to be feared. But if fear of Earth's response prevents wars and protects innocent species, then perhaps it is acceptable. We would prefer to be respected for our science and art, but we will settle for being respected for our ability to defend ourselves and others. And if another species challenges you, if they see your example and decide to build their own hidden fleet, then we will adapt. Humanity has always been good at that. We survived 10,000 years of warfare by learning, changing, and overcoming challenges. If the galaxy arms itself in response to Earth's example, we will deal with it. What we will not do is return to a system where might makes right." Far from Nexus Prime, on Earth itself, people went about their daily lives largely unchanged. Most humans had watched the Battle of Earth with pride and relief, but then returned to their normal routines. The hidden fleet had been revealed, but its purpose remained defensive. Scientists continued research. Artists created new works. Children went to school and dreamed of exploring the stars. In the underground command center where it all began, the new generation of officers monitored the peaceful skies. The fleet was no longer hidden, but it remained ready. Humanity had learned its lesson well. Peace was precious, but it could only be maintained by those ready to defend it. The galaxy had learned something too. When they looked at humanity now, they saw a species that smiled and preferred peace, but they also remembered 800 warships emerging from hiding. They remembered tactics that had never been seen before. They remembered mercy offered to defeated enemies, and they understood, finally, that humanity was exactly what it claimed to be, a species that sought peace, but was thoroughly prepared for war. It was a lesson no one would forget.